as a producer, you can't sell beats anymore, period. That's not a difference of opinion. That's not an opinion that I have to respect. If you say, producers should focus more on YouTube than Instagram ads, well, that's subjective. Maybe some people are going to have more luck selling beats on YouTube. Maybe some people are going to have more luck selling beats on Instagram. But I don't want to hear all this stuff about this is impossible. I had a conversation with somebody recently about that, and I convinced them not to pay for that stuff. What's going down? It's the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast, episode 76, powered by BeatStars, beatstars.live. We're live on beatstars.live Monday and Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What's going on, Dame? I have a story for you that you're going to probably laugh at. I had a rough morning, and I blame my friend Trax. So Trax was sending me all these texts about how I needed to join this app called Clubhouse. I'm like, yeah, I know. This is a painful conversation because it's not available for Android yet. And finally, I just responded. I'm like, bro, I can't get it. It's not available. It's only for iOS. He goes, no, they got an Android version out. I was like, are you sure? Yes. He's typing in all caps with like 4 S's. Like, all right. Where do I get it? He said, just check your Play Store. So I checked, and there was an app called Clubhouse that looked like Clubhouse, and I opened it. And I should have gotten, I guess, thrown off by the fact that it was just publicly available and not, needing any kind of invite to open. Mm-hmm. So downloaded it. I'm trying to add you on there. I'm looking for the Music Entrepreneur Club room. Don't find it. I'm not finding anybody. There are people on there, but they're all from other countries. So it threw me off, and eventually I realized it's just a fake Clubhouse app that isn't actually the real one, but it looks like it. So that sucked. So you're living in the real Clubhouse world, and you're having a lot of interactions with people in the music business. And one of the interactions had to do with what you want to talk about with this whole, but I think we've covered this before, putting a budget on success in the music business.
Yeah. Before we jump into that, I do just want to, just talk about the conversation I had with Hop the other day, or just let people know what's coming. And
I didn't know we could talk about that. Yeah, you posted a picture of you with Hopsin. How much can you say about that?
Yeah, I'm not gonna dive too deep into it, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that watch. I would say most people that watch our podcast know my history and know my, the issues I had with Hop in the past that were publicly available. So we sat down 3 days ago now, and recorded a 4-hour podcast that I think, will be very educational, might be entertaining to some, but more educational than anything. So that will be out hopefully by the end of this month, maybe early next. But, I definitely think that artists, managers, any independent creators or people that support independent creators should watch this conversation because, like I said, I think it's best to learn from other people's mistakes. So, tune into that. I'll definitely, if you follow us, you'll know that when it's available. So there was a Clubhouse conversation, and a lot of times Clubhouse conversations, they flow over to Twitter. And the tweet was, you need $100,000, or you need to be able to invest $100,000 in your career as an independent artist. And no context, just that. And I just respond, or to break an artist, $100,000 to break an artist, so to have that conversation, I guess you need to define a lot of things, right? Like, what does it mean to break an artist? So some people's definition of that is different. Some people are saying, oh, that's like Drake status. And then on the other side of the spectrum, it's just, being an independent artist, putting out music, making enough to live off of, creating what you love to do. But my whole thing is like, I think when people say things like you need a certain amount of money to get going in the music industry or to have success in the music industry, it's very discouraging for some artists because it's typically an amount that they never touched. Even if they say 10,000 or 20,000, like most people don't have that, like just disposable right now. So it's a very discouraging thing. And from my experience,
it's also bullshit.
Yeah, and from my experience, I've seen artists get going like so many different types of ways. And we literally have the tools these days to create money out of thin air, right? Like you can turn your phone around on yourself, be funny, get an audience, and then like brand a shirt or whatever, and then start selling shirts using a dropship company like Printful or something like that. And you literally didn't have anything but a phone and maybe like $30 a month for a website or something like that. Maybe you can probably get stuff cheaper than that. So, and that's what you use to start. Of course, over time, you're going to be investing more and more into your business. But to get going, we have so many free resources. Education. If you don't have money, you definitely can sit online and learn how to, the industry, learn more about your craft. You can network. You can do so much with no money. So when people say you need a certain amount of money to get going, like that lets me know that you don't work like day to day with artists, like with independent artists on the ground. There's a lot of people in the music industry that have a lot of experience, and they're super, and they know what they do on a day-to-day basis. But when it comes to what independent creators are experiencing, like on the ground level, there's a huge disconnect because they don't know. So they might know their world, and the information that they share about their world is valid. But when it comes to giving specific advice to independent creators outside of what they do on a day-to-day basis, it typically falls short.
Some of that feels too like gatekeeping. I'm not saying that that's what it is. Maybe subconsciously it is. But for example, in the producer world, right? Like if my standard, what I charge for beats is $1,000, what am I going to tweet about? I'm going to tweet stuff like, you can't get a high quality beat for under $1,000, just because I'm afraid of the people selling beats for 500 or 300. You know what I mean? And God forbid, I even consider the leasing option, and people are giving away, 3 beats for $19.99 or whatever it is. And a lot of that happened when beat leasing became, more central to the music business. And I just wonder if this isn't, people having trouble with the changing of the guards. Because, I've never, I've been doing this for a living for 12 years. I put money into what I was doing. Obviously, I don't need to be broken as a producer, I guess. I don't know. But I've never just had a lump sum of $100,000 that I dumped into my career. Absolutely not. But the musicians that I worked with didn't either. I mean, we had Ted Park on. We didn't spend any money on releasing the song that I think it was like $50 to get it mixed and mastered, and then just put it on Spotify. And next thing you know, it's playlisted and charting, and Capitol Records is reaching out. So sure, it was a fluke, maybe, or maybe it was the right song at the right time and a little bit of luck mixed in, but we didn't spend anywhere near, we didn't spend $100, let alone 100,000. So breaking an artist nowadays, I think that, back in the day when you needed radio and you needed all of these things to have eyes on you and ears on you, it was expensive, but it was also completely manufactured. None of it was organic. And a lot of that mentality has persisted even nowadays when everything's organic, and organic effectively means free. You just have to put the work in and the time in and make the right kind of content. But trust me, I know people who have taken that route and have spent, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on their music careers and haven't gone anywhere because the music just isn't right, because what they spent it on wasn't right. So when someone says something like you need $100,000 to get your career off the ground or to break an artist, they're not telling you that, one, they're talking about a very specific kind of route for an artist to take, and they don't tell you, number two, exactly where to spend that money so that you're guaranteed success, and they damn sure don't tell you 3 that you're not guaranteed success. I had an artist contact me the other day, and he sent me a beat that was, it was a really heartfelt beat. It just didn't sound like a radio single. It didn't sound like a smash. So he's like, I need radio. I need this. I'm like, no, I'm talking him out of it. He's like, how much do I spend for this? Number one, I'm always talking artists out of spending money on promo companies and marketing companies and stuff, because all that stuff is, virtually all of it is a scam. But if you make a song that, I think it was a song about cancer, and it was a slow, somber beat. There was just a lot going on in the song that was not consistent with a radio smash. So a lot of artists think that's the route that they have to take. You have to, someone on Twitter says, you got to spend this amount of money to break. You need radio to win. You need this and that. And so you're trying to take your song and shove it into this tiny radio hitbox and spend all this money not knowing exactly where to allocate those funds. And you just end up burning out your energy, burning out your resources, and you walk away with nothing. And, and I had to tell him straight up, like, I worked in radio for a long time. Radio's not for us being the unsigned artist that makes a certain kind of music. And it's expensive, man. Radio is expensive, $50,000, $100,000, but what unsigned artist has that? And on top of it, you're going to spend $100,000 every time you release a new song to get it on radio so that it matches the success of the prior release. No one has money like that.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, the people that want large amounts of money to invest in their career right now are trying to cheat the process. Right. Most artists don't even need $100,000 to put in their career, and they wouldn't know where to do it. They would just blow it. I posted that picture with me and Hopsin, and the response to that picture, like, literally, like, people are like super excited. People saying, "Oh, they're in tears." Like, and that kind of reaction, that kind of fan base, like, those relationships weren't built because we had a bunch of money. Right. We put in the time and the effort. And I know a lot of the early fans by name because we interacted and engaged and built that relationship with them over years. That wasn't just like, hey, and I didn't even put in $100,000 into Funk Volume like that. So the label didn't get started with $100,000. I probably put 20 grand, or I probably put 20 grand, maybe a little more, maybe a little less into the label before we started making money. And I know that even that people don't have. And I'm not even saying you need that. Some of the money I overspent, like on a website, like if I were to do it again, there were areas I didn't even need that much, but Hopsin learned how to produce his own music. He learned how to mix and master his own music. He learned how to shoot and edit his videos. That's possible if you have the drive to do it, and it didn't take him any money to do that. He didn't even take an actual class. He was just looking it up on YouTube and figuring shit out. So if that's the kind of drive and mentality you have, you can save a shitload of money, right? If you're resourceful, if you have a great network, and you can, maybe you don't make your own beats, but you know how to build relationships, and maybe you have some service that you can barter with producers, and you're just a good person and you're very good at what you do and people want to work with you. So you can save a shitload of money doing that. So, we don't need to keep going on about like, people saying you need a certain amount of money to get going, because you don't. Like, there are, I use Kalen Raps as an example, and he just turned his phone on himself and, got a big buzz on Instagram, just rapping in the backseat of his car. Even outside of music, when you have that cat, Brother Nature or whatever, who's gotten a huge following, and it started with him feeding deer outside of his house and being charismatic and funny and interesting. There's another cat who I forget what his name is, but he just got popular by smiling, right? Like, he smiles into the camera, and like, there's so many ways, if you're creative and interesting, to build a following. And there's so many ways to monetize it now, whether it's sponsorships or merch, or whether you're monetizing your YouTube and Facebook. Like, so again, I just want to reiterate, the people that are telling you that you need a certain amount of money to get going probably don't work with artists on a day-to-day basis on an independent level. So don't let that discourage you. But it is going to take a lot of hard work to figure things out if you don't have the money, and you will have to invest in your career at some point, to continue to grow and build. Any business does. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, don't get discouraged by these big numbers that people throw out. They say, hey, you need this to get going, because if you believe that, you're probably just trying to cheat the process.
So speaking of discouragement, I've been seeing this a lot. I'm sure you've seen it a lot. Have you noticed a lot of artists lamenting not having support? So, for example, I saw this post the other day from an artist in my area talking about how the city never supported him or his art, and how the city tried to hold him back, and the city was hating on him. And I hear that all the time from artists saying they don't get enough support in their city, or they don't get enough support from their peers or their family. And their solution is to either give up and use that as an excuse, or they plan on moving somewhere else to some other city where they'll suddenly start getting more support. And for me, the whole moving thing is something I never really understood. I mean, if you're a country singer, songwriter, whatever, and you move to Nashville because you want to get on writing sessions, that makes sense. That's a very specific goal, and that Nashville is the place where these sessions happen. But if you're a rapper struggling to still fill a venue in your own city, or if you're a producer who can't sell beats to artists in your state, how does moving solve that? I never understood that. But just this idea that you, as a producer, you need support to be successful, or you as a rapper can't be successful without support. What does that even mean?
Yeah, I mean, you know how I feel about this. I mean, I use Funk Volume again as an example. We didn't have local support. So we're from LA, but we're from like the valley part of LA. And the valley doesn't get the same recognition as like the city proper or whatever. So, even if we made music, well, I think if we made music that was more similar, it was similar to the typical LA sound, we might have been ingratiated, but we weren't necessarily part of that culture. And I understood that, and we don't get mad at that. Right. And repping the valley is not gonna get you any points. It's not like it's the valley isn't the most glamorous place in the world, but it's not LA. It's not, it's not, your boys in the hood scene. It's not. So we understood that. That's fine. And that's fine. So we went to where the fans were. Like the hip hop fans originally, like, were heavy in like the Midwest, heavy in like the Northwest. And we didn't need to move to get there. We just needed social media to tell us where to go, and to be able to build fan bases elsewhere. And then once that happens, if you start popping elsewhere and then your home city starts to say, hold on, these guys are moving, like, we should pay attention. Like, you'll eventually be able to make some moves, because that's just how it works. And I've seen people get mad at that, but that's just how it works. And I'm fine with that. Eventually we were selling out shows in LA, but we went outside and came back, and never got mad. That's just sometimes your target audience for the music that you make. And I understand, like, artists are being influenced because of social media. Like, artists are being influenced by different cultures in different pockets. So you might be heavily influenced by the Chicago scene, but you live in Alabama, right? So now you're making music that's more reminiscent of, like, what's happening in Chicago, and your local scene's not really rocking with it, but that's what you're influenced by. So, it makes sense that, sometimes that happens. So I just try not to get discouraged, and you can find people just using the internet. You don't actually have to change your life and, like, move to LA. LA eats a lot of people up. Like, you come out here and then you realize how many people are out here trying to do this shit. And if you're not a good networker, you can't find the people that your tribe, a lot of people move here, move right back within months.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it feels great when I get press in my city or if I play a big event in my city and I feel supported because there are a lot of people there. But there are weeks and months that go by, especially now with COVID, when, none of that happens, but it doesn't destroy my career. And, like my family wasn't in love with the idea of me making music as a career. I went to school for something that has nothing to do with music, and that was sort of the pride of my family, at least how as far as it related to me. I was going to be a teacher or a professor, whatever it was. And my city, on top of it, certainly didn't shower me with praise just because I started making beats. It wasn't until I started making strides, like getting my first gold record or getting my first number one, and then really working hard to market that accomplishment, that people started, kind of rallying around me a little. And then, with that comes a lot of negative too. It was like, he didn't actually produce that record for Jeezy. He stole that beat. That plaque is fake, this and that. And obviously the city's small enough where it comes back to me. And I just kind of have to shake that off. But if all I did was rely on my family and my city to support me, I'd be broke in a week. So I just take my art where it's wanted, which is at this point the internet. And I've seen artists who don't even play shows in my city because hip hop is effectively banned by the white savior establishment here. And these artists are doing well on TikTok. Not that he's from my city, but you talk to Biddle and he's from an hour and a half away in Milwaukee, and he's got millions of followers on TikTok, and certainly he can parlay that into a good career.
And he didn't spend $100,000 to get going.
No. Well, and then there are the artists that are doing well on streaming platforms, or they have a music video that goes viral, and the city isn't really doing anything for them. They might say, yeah, we appreciate that, we respect that, we love it. But these people are just making money, making music though, like they're supposed to be doing. And I feel like there's another related question that stems from this conversation, which is, should your friends and family support your music? Are they obligated to? Because that's another thing you hear as part of this conversation. Do you see those memes where it's like your friends will share, I don't know, your friends will share Lil Baby's new album, but not your mixtape?
Yeah, I've been saying it for years, man. You need fans, not friends. I mean, it's always helpful if you have family support, friend support. I support my friends. Like I'm happy to do it, but you can't rely on just your friends or family to support your career. At some point, people are going to have to rock with your music, your story, and be interested in you as an artist. Because unless you got some rich ass friends and family, your career is not going to be supported by friends. And it's like, can you expect them to? I mean, you expect them to be a supporting friend and family for sure, but like not with their pockets. If it's something that they don't like if I got a friend that's selling stuff that I don't need, I might post about it on Facebook to see if anybody else needs it. But like, I don't need what they're selling. I don't like what they're selling. I support them and love them, but you cannot depend on friends and family to support your career. It's good that you have that support in the beginning. It's encouraging. But if that's what you're relying on, you're going to have a pretty short career.
Yeah. And that's my point. I mean, there are ways that you can support your friends. For example, if my cousin were selling clothes or something, and I interacted with all of her posts and commented on that just to help her get some engagement. And, those are small ways that I can help. But if it's like, why aren't you retweeting my latest sale? It's like, why? I don't have a base of people that want your product. And then people will get frustrated and say, it's because I couldn't get any familial support. My own cousin, who's a producer, wouldn't even reach. This didn't happen. I don't have, as far as I know, I don't have a cousin who sells clothes. But you can't rely on that. To have the business, you really have to have the business, and businesses rely on reputation. Businesses rely on advertising. Businesses rely on product, longevity, quality, all of these things. But come to think of it, this stuff is happening to me, and I'm sure this is happening to you, Dame. A lot of my friends that I can't even call them friends, like people that I knew but I'm kind of estranged from, like maybe I haven't seen them for 10 years. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because of COVID, but I'm starting to get a bunch of emails and calls from them reaching out, trying to get me to pay them for services that I didn't ask for and that I don't necessarily need. I'm not going to say what they all are. I mean, it ranges from like, you know, like women that I knew in passing, like sending me their OnlyFans links, or like people over here doing, I don't even want to get into it, but it's like stuff that I don't want to pay for.
Yeah, I don't get that. You know, obviously, you know, when family started seeing us have success, you know, a lot of people hit me up, but it seemed as if like everybody was happy with just the information that I was providing. Because I'll definitely, you know, let you know like how we're doing this, what we're doing. And it seemed like people were happy, you know, just me making myself available and giving them information, which I think they should be. Now, did they hang up the phone and be like, fuck you, Dame, you should have signed me? Like, I have no idea, but it seemed like, you know, people were happy that, you know, that I made the time and just kind of explained to them, you know, what we were doing and maybe looking at their stuff and seeing how they could apply some of the things we were doing to what they're doing. You know, but it's tough because a lot of people expect things from you that they shouldn't really expect, but they don't know that. So it's tough to manage those relationships.
Oh, so you have family members that rap and make beats and all that.
Yeah, I have some family members that rap in music. There's a lot of musicians in my family because my dad plays the drums and his side of the family is pretty musically inclined and super talented. So yeah, we've had discussions, but nobody, you know, nobody's gotten crazy. Like, damn, you need to sign. Like, I haven't had any issues. You know, my fam's been cool.
Yeah, I don't think I have any members of my family who rap or anything, so I'm safe. But you know, I figured if you know I went out to the West Coast or the Southwest or whatever, and someone's like, "Hey, you know, your cousin raps or whatever." Yeah, cool. Let me send them some beats. You know, whatever it is. But that's different. That's artist networking. That's not relying on a family member for a career, or relying on, because if I relied on, I just can't imagine starting a business and relying on my friends and family to make it a success. I would really appreciate their support, you know, like being present on the day that I open my business, if it's brick and mortar, or being at my album release party, that kind of thing. But I'm not relying, I'm not saying, okay, I got 10 family members. They're each going to come and spend $10 at the door and they're going to buy my album. I'm going to make $300 off of my family members. Nah, that's a terrible business model. So it's just, I think it goes back to people not knowing any better and just using an excuse to give up. And I hate seeing it. What I hate even getting into these conversations with people where it's like, my family didn't support me, so I had to give up my dreams of being a rapper, or my city didn't support me, so I had to give up my dreams of being a producer. And it's like, nah, man. And I don't want to tell you you're full of shit, but just know that I know, because I went through the same stuff and I'm from the same place as you, or I'm from a very similar place as you. And that's not an excuse. You just didn't figure it out. You didn't work long enough. You didn't figure out the right information. Maybe your music wasn't right. Maybe you just made really bad decisions, and a lot of people are 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So
yeah,
if you're watching this, don't just you're the only one that can destroy your career. Your family not supporting you, your city not riding your dick all the time. That doesn't make you or break you.
yeah. I mean, a lot of people have strong opinions about this, and you know, I try to stay out of conversation. I hope that people find our content and find it useful. But like, there's just I'm not on a mission to go to change people's minds about things that I know that they're wrong about. Like, that's why I sit in Clubhouse and I listen way more than I talk. I just listen. What I use Clubhouse for is, I mean, there's a lot of things I use it for, but in the music, for the Music Entrepreneur Club, I listen to like understand like what artists' pain points are. I was like, okay, like these are issues. Let's talk about it on the MEC. I don't really need to chime in the moment because a lot of people's minds are just made up, and I'm not trying to change like an individual person's mind because that would just be like not a very productive part of my day.
Sure.
And then
Especially if they're telling you to eat a dick.
right. It's like, look, I'm just sharing what I know to be true for my experience and from other artists I work with. If you're telling me what I'm doing is not possible, that's fine. I'm not going to convince you. Like we can just stop talking now because it doesn't make sense. But the other way that I use Clubhouse is I listen for the people that do know that I think they know what they're talking about. And then I circle back with them and try to get them to come on the MEC. So I'm looking for MEC guests as well on Clubhouse. So yeah, I would just encourage people, like, don't be so entrenched in your beliefs just because of your experience. Like, there are people doing music so many different types of ways, and it's fair to have an opinion. But if it's an opinion, like, just don't be so entrenched in that to the point where you're tuning people out, telling people to shut up, telling people it's not possible. Like, have your opinion because it's based on your experience, but just be open-minded. And I know that might be asking too much of some people, but that's what I would encourage you to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. My thing is where things get tricky with chiming into these conversations. And I don't know what it is. I feel like especially on our Instagram page, people just go there to express their negative opinions sometimes. And I don't know why. It's like, why would you follow us when we're a music business mentorship program when you fundamentally disagree with the information we're putting out? And there's this logical leap you have to take in your head where it's like, all right, I don't have a music career, but I know they're wrong even though they have music careers. So I'm just going to, and like you said, at that point, that's not a person that's willing to listen. And that's not a person that either of us should invest our energy into because we're not going to change their mind. But the problem with social media is that they're not sending me that text saying you're full of shit, you're broke, you and Dame suck. They're posting it online and they're saying stuff like, I've been doing this forever and I made $0 off streaming and everything's a scam. Everyone's a gay lizard and it's Illuminati. And then
a gay lizard.
Don't ask me. I don't get into that stuff. I don't have enough tinfoil to wear on my head for that. But, there are these public conversations that people are having that, and we talked about this, that just people put out information because their experiences were bad. And so they want to share that. And someone who's on the fence, someone who's, maybe considering pursuing their dream of becoming a musician sees that comment and they're like, oh man, someone just told me I had to perform a goat skull ritual with Quincy Jones if I wanted to, or someone said I needed $100,000 to get my career off the ground, or someone said that selling beats is dead, or someone said that I had to sell my soul just to get a million plays on Spotify. I quit. I give up. That's the person that worries me. So it's like, do you confront the person that's being negative and lying to the people because they're wrong, or do you just let it slide because it's a losing battle? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. With the one-on-ones, like I'm cool going back and forth with people. I'm not in this to prove I'm right. Like I'm in here just to share information from my experience and from what I see others working. If you rock with it, cool. If not, best of luck to you.
And I know you've attempted to have some people on the podcast and they just never come. And I tried that once or twice where someone's just vehemently disagreeing with anything that I say. And I'm like, yeah, well, why don't you come on the podcast? No, I know what kind of person you are. I'm like, okay, cool, because I probably would have had to cut you off anyway for being an asshole. So I don't want to start that trend.
I probably would veto the person. Like, I'm definitely not open to just.
Oh, no, that's the other thing. That's the other thing. I'm like, Dame would never let this happen.
Like, if
I would have to trick you, and someone would just have to appear in the middle of the Zoom call.
I mean, if there are people that just I mean, it's fine to disagree with us. Like, I mean, I'm definitely not saying that I'm right about everything. And because we've said multiple times that there's so many different ways to do this in the music industry, there are people that know some tricks that I don't know. Like, yeah. I'm definitely open to that. But I'm not letting one of the trolls in your comments on YouTube like appear on our podcast.
Oh, my comments, like, you don't get that, Dame. Like, your Hopsin picture wasn't full of that.
No, but what I'm saying is most of the comments I see, because I look at the comments under the podcast on your page. And I scan through those sometimes just to see how people are receiving the content.
They've been good lately.
So that's why it's top. That's top of mind. I'm definitely not saying I don't get, but I typically don't get like negative MEC comments. Like my comments come from.
Yeah, you do.
Funk Volume days. I really don't. I don't think I do.
That's true. Because where do you draw the line between the Funk Volume trolls and the MEC trolls? Where does one stop and the other start? It's hard.
No, so I'm talking about comments in response to something on the MEC page that not Funk Volume related. There are people that disagree and we go back and forth, but I don't typically get like nasty comments from the stuff we post.
Yeah, I mean, the disagreements get nasty, but I think part of it for me is just because I'm so straightforward. I'm not going to be like, oh,
and you tell them to eat a dick. So
no, I don't. I would, you know what? I would appreciate you not joking about that because I've tried really hard not to say stuff like that. I'm really putting forth a lot of effort, and then it gets said to me, and I'm like, well, what do I do? Just now I have to ignore it because this conversation has degraded to a level that I don't want to stoop. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It's please disagree with everything, verify anything and everything, challenge everything and anything that anybody says, myself included, Dame included. The difference is I'm open to all types of possibilities. I hate that some people will characterize being totally negative as a difference of opinion. It's not a difference of opinion. Like if we're trying to explain to people how to increase their visibility organically, and someone says you can't make any money as an independent artist or as an unsigned artist, you need Illuminati, you need $1 billion, you need the machine behind you, all this stuff. Streaming doesn't pay this and that. Everyone's part of the conspiracy against you. And we say, well, no, that's not true. Here are some resources. No. You got to stop lying to them. Because a lot of people will say that, stop trying to lie to people. They can't make it. Don't try. That's where I draw the line. That's not a difference of opinion. If someone's saying, as a producer, you can't sell beats anymore, period, that's not a difference of opinion. That's not an opinion that I have to respect. If you say, producers should focus more on YouTube than Instagram ads, well, that's subjective. Maybe some people are going to have more luck selling beats on YouTube. Maybe some people are going to have more luck selling beats on Instagram. But I don't want to hear all this stuff about this is impossible. Stop lying to the people and selling them false hope that they can be career producers. Yeah, of course they can. And I'm not respecting any opinion that discourages people from trying to do what they love.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah, I think we're finally on the same page. We've healed from the last conversation.
I didn't even know there was any healing to be done, but
I know. I wanted it to be a little more contentious, and it was actually really friendly.
Cool. Well, I think this was a good session. Yeah, and I'll let people know when the podcast drops with Hop. trying to figure out some other details around it. So,
Oh, I for one cannot wait. I think I'm more emotionally invested in this podcast, and I don't even know what's in it. I have no idea, but I think I'm more emotionally invested in it than the biggest Funk Volume fan.
well, for what you said you wanted to use it for, I promise you, you will be able to use it for that.
Thank you. That's all. This is the greatest Christmas gift that anyone could give me because I'm ready. I'm ready to just. This is like I don't. You know what? I'm not even going to talk about it. This is the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast, presented and fully powered by BeatStars. BeatStars.live is a place to go every Monday and every Thursday at 3 p.m. It's a free music business mentorship program. All the information we give away is free. The sessions are free. You don't have to be a member of MEC. You don't have to be a member of BeatStars. Just come through, soak up the information, and interact live. It's a multi-platform live stream. So there's really no reason why you can't attend. And if you can attend at that time, it's cool. It's archived on all of BeatStars' social media, and it's also, at least my sessions, I re-upload to my YouTube page. So you can tune into that. And then you can also get a text alert every time we're live. What is that number, Dan?
Text MEC to 844-206-7800.
All right. Until next episode. What's the next episode? 378, something like that, right? I've lost count.
Nice. This was 76. Will be 77, I think.
Oh, that makes sense. All right, cool. Peace, everyone.
Peace.